Hey, Martin, what are you doing?
Hey Brett, I found this really handy little cheat sheet for serverless on GCP, where it shows you which product to use for what use case, and I'm trying to figure out which product to use.
Oh my gosh, we get this question a lot. Like, should I use Cloud Functions? Should I use Cloud Run? And in fact, I have
Right,
a client who would love to see this. So, yeah, let's take a look at that.
let's do it. Okay, Brett, who's our client here?
The team at CritterWatch has these wildlife cameras that they have set out to take pictures of animals their native habitat or out in the wild. And they thought, hey, we want to build with serverless on Google Cloud. Can you help us figure out which services to use for what? So this seems like a good chance to use that
Hmm.
handy little cheat sheet. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it. Sounds like fun. Okay, so here's their app. Now, to walk us through what's happening here.
So their cameras are already uploading animal photos to Google Cloud Storage, and they want a service that will analyze that photo, maybe using the Vision API or some machine learning to label what kind of animal is in the photo, and then save that to the Firestore database so they can keep track of, for example, how many alpacas that these cameras have seen, and they can track it for their reporting.
Oh, sounds like a fun use case, and yeah, sounds like a nice little app. So it's events, gluing together some services. Very good. Let's go to this cheat sheet.
All right, perfect. So there's a lot here. What do you think? Can you kind of walk us through this?
Yeah, let's see. I'm looking at it here. I think for this use case, we have one of the rows at the bottom here. We have triggered by cloud events. That's what's going on. The photos uploaded. We're connecting multiple other cloud services. So I think this would be the last or second to last row, and probably cloud functions. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. So connecting cloud services seems like a good use for cloud functions. I think one thing we should probably point out on this um, chart is that there is some overlap. Some apps you can build
Mm.
with any of these products. Hopefully, will give you a sense of maybe why you might choose one or the other. But this is, I think, a pretty good starting point for most folks to know what platform to run on. So let's do cloud functions.
Yeah. Let's see what it looks like.
All right, let me pull up the code. So this is
Ah,
our animal.
code.
Yes.
My favorite part of any episode.
Cool. So CritterWatch has already written this code. We helped them write it, so we're not going to type it in front of you, but let's maybe walk through a little bit like what the code looks like. Here's calling in the Cloud Vision API it's just an API trained on machine learning to label what's in the image, um, serverless Firestore database, and then we're only tracking certain kinds of animals. So raccoon, which is like apparently like the scientific name for raccoons, and so on. And then we've got this little event
Hmm.
handler. So
Very good.
yeah,
Yeah, so this is the code you would write to handle the file storage event or any event in Cloud Function. So just the event itself, which when it comes to files, it is actually a data structure describing the file that was uploaded and a context where you can find other things.
yep, and
Yeah, and it looks like they're hitting the label detection API
yep.
here
So it's calling
in
the
the
Vision
Vision API.
API, giving it the path to in Google Cloud Storage, just seeing if it matches any of the animals that they're tracking, and then it just creates this little JSON object. Right now, this is pretty simple. Animal, it gives the name of the animal, so dog or alpaca, the timestamp, and then the URL to the photo, so you can actually go and look at it, and then saves it to Firestore. So pretty easy.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that one-liner fire stories. So they're very good with that.
Yeah, totally agree.
Okay, yeah. So cool. Not a lot of setup, and you would deploy this with gcloud functions
Oh
command.
yeah, actually, let's look at that. I wrote a little handy shell
Oh yeah,
script to do to
let's see
deploy. So
it.
this is what it would take to deploy. You give it the name of the function, the runtime. So in this case, Node.js 10. The resource to listen to. So in this case, it's the Google Cloud Storage bucket CritterWatch photos, which is created in our project. And then within that resource, what is the event? So there's different sort of events that can happen for a file. It could be uploaded, it could be deleted, it could be moved or renamed or overwritten. And so in this case, this is when the object has finished uploading. So then we will run analyze image on it.
Very nice. So the code looks nice. Deployment command looks really nice. Does it actually work?
Oh my gosh, the $1 million questions. Let's go to our UI. Here we're here to Cloud Functions. We've got the analyze image function. You can see what region it's in. And here is the bucket, CritterWatch photos, which I have here. So let's upload a photo and see what it does.
Yeah, right.
Bert. That doesn't say Brett. That's not my name. That's Bert. That's the name of the raccoon. And if all goes according to plan. For some reason, the Vision API doesn't label raccoon as raccoon. It's this Pyrocyanidae. But actually, it looks like I saw a little flash. It looks like this is the one we just uploaded. And let's double check and see if we actually see old Bert here. Oh, there he is.
Oh, so cute. Now, do we have the rights to this image, Brett?
We do. We actually visited a little zoo in England where you can have a raccoon encounter. So we got to feed Bert these peanuts. He loves peanuts, and kind of get up and close and look at him and experience, talking to a raccoon at least.
Oh, so cute. Okay, great. So gluing services together, being heavily depending on events, triggering on events, Cloud Functions works great for that, as we saw. Now, I hear that they also have another use case in mind.
Exactly. So CritterWatch had a second service, which they wanted to create an API, an HTTP REST API, where they could have some endpoints. You could do gets and posts and puts, and maybe read some of the data that's getting put in Firestore, like this picture of Bert with his timestamp. And so it would look something like this and connect it to Firestore as the data store.
Very cool. So that I could hit this and ask for all the cute raccoon pictures and show them on my webpage.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
So let's put up this little cheat sheet. Yeah. So what do we think?
Yeah. So you said the magic word there, API. So I think we're right in the middle here. It says developing APIs for web and mobile backends. Maybe that's where we're at.
Yeah, that seems reasonable. Yeah. So it's not really an internal API, but I guess it's similar. But yeah, I think API for web and mobile backends. Cloud Run. We've been using a lot of Cloud Run, so I think that makes sense. And there's a couple of requests or requirements that CritterWatch had. So they wanted to be able potentially to run this API somewhere else. So we thought, containers could be a good idea because it makes your app very, very portable, runs consistently. And then they also wanted to put their custom domain name, for example, CritterWatch APIs .io or whatever. They wanted to put their custom domain name in front of it. And then they also wanted to do traffic splitting. So they wanted to be able to roll out a new version and maybe just send a little bit of traffic to it. And then once they test it, kind of expand it out to serve to more and more users.
Right. And Cloud Run is really good at all of those things, right?
Yep, exactly. So Cloud Functions is great and it's easy to get started, but it doesn't, at least as of now, it doesn't support those features. So I think it's a pretty compelling use case to use Cloud Run in this example. So let's maybe take a look at the code.
Yeah.
All right.
That's right. The truth is in the code.
All right. So yeah, you can see here.
The truth is out there.
Whoops, that's the Critter API. Here is the. Let me close this. Here is the Docker file, so that will create our image, our container image, and then here is the code for the app itself. So what is going on here, Martin? I already see some things like Express and ports and listening that we did not have to do in Cloud Functions. So why do we have to do that?
Yeah, right. Because in Cloud Functions, we say, hook up this event to this code, and Google does all of the routing and things on the back end. With Cloud Run, your contract between you as a developer and Google is that whenever somebody calls your container, that Google will make that an HTTP call into your container. So you need to have a little library or a little web service server or a little library that can listen to HTTP. So when you're using Node, Express is great for that. So we need those lines 1, 2, 3 and then lines 7, 8, 9. Those basically set up the HTTP listening part of this code. And that stuff is not needed in Cloud Functions.
Cool. And then I see down here an app.get, and one thing that occurs to me is we've got this endpoint, but now that we have access to Express, we could potentially set up a bunch of different routes. So maybe we've got app.get animals, but we also got app.get users maybe, and app.get. This is, this is not real code here, but I'm just typing, cameras, for example. And so because you have access to Express, then you can get that whole different routing gets and posts and put. Whereas with Cloud Functions, it's designed to give you one handler. So it would just be sort of one HTTP endpoint. So another good reason that Cloud Run is a good a good platform to build your APIs to run on.
Yeah, right. Gives you a little more flexibility. You have to do a little more setup because you have to listen to the HTTP command. But so what we're seeing here on line 11 is that we're listening for URLs, that is like the domain /animals/ and then the variable animal name. So we'll put that in on line 12. We're putting that in the animal name JavaScript variable. And then there is a little bit of Firestore magic going on, huh?
Yeah, so as we saw in the other one, Firestore is actually really easy to use. It pairs well with serverless products because not a lot of code. You don't have to worry about connection pooling and things like that. So we're just going to go to the Firestore collection for, alpaca, whatever our animal is here, do a get and bring those back, create basically an array of those, and then return that all as a JSON object back to the user.
I love it when it's short code like this. Very elegant code, but again, I wonder, does it work, Brett?
Does it work? Yes. Will it blend? All right, so let's go to the Cloud Run UI. And I see here we've got the CritterWatch REST API. Let's click into it and take a look.
Very nice. Yeah, let's see what's there.
All right, so I'm going to go take a look at this URL, and then let's look at like animals, red panda. Let's see if that works. Oh, that's promising.
Yeah.
Let's click
this
little thing there. Oh, isn't that cute?
Oh, little teddy bear.
And we have rights to this picture too. So this guy's name is Avi. He is at the Chattanooga Zoo in Tennessee, and you can do a little red panda encounter and get to meet him again, like bird, and feed him and talk to him and just sort of see what they look like up close. Yeah, pretty cool.
What do the red pandas eat, Brett?
Avi loves bamboo. So yeah, that's mostly what at least that day that's what was on the menu.
Oh, excellent. Oh, good. Right, and then I think we talked about traffic splitting, right? So how would, let's say CritterWatch, they're deploying version 2 of this API, how would they now start sending just a trickle of traffic to the new version?
Right, so we have a few kind of pre-deployed services as we were building it, but you can see here traffic as a percentage. So not only could you do red-green deployments or canary, you could actually have multiple different versions served simultaneously and split the traffic that way. So let's see what that looks like. Let's do manage traffic. And then, so this is the current one. Let's take the previous one. And what should we do? We could say, just say 5% of traffic to the previous one, and or maybe, I guess it would be the opposite, maybe 5% to the new one, and then 95% to the previous one. And then if we did that, then it would split the traffic that way. So that's cool. And let's see what else. What else did CritterWatch want? I think they wanted
I'm a big fan of anything that makes pushing code to production makes that less scary. So I really like.
Totally agree. Sometimes if it was up to me, I would just always have 0% of the new version just in case I introduce some bug.
Yes. Custom domains. That was another requirement.
Right, exactly. So Cloud Functions, again, is great, but by default, you get a URL that you can't customize. It's like kind of the name of your function and the name of the region, .cloudfunctions.net. But we want a URL here, something like CritterWatch.serverlesstoolbox.com. So let's actually see. Let's see if we can use that URL. I'll say animals slash dog. See if we have any dogs in the database. Oh, it looks like we got one here.
Could you make that bigger, Brett?
Oh yeah, let's make this font a little bigger. Hopefully you can see that.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, and so here's a dog, and then here's looks like a dog was seen at whatever that timestamp is. So let's take a look, and that's this dog's name is Merlin.
Oh.
He lives in Chicago with Brittany.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So.
So we have the rights to this one too.
Yes, thank you, Brittany, for letting us use your dog's photo. He's cute.
Okay, good. Did you get a written release from Brittany?
I will see. I'll check with our legal team.
Yeah.
So that's
excellent.
Cool. Yeah, custom domain, traffic splitting.
This domain is a lot.
Oh, sorry, good.
Yeah, this domain is a lot nicer than the one, the auto-generated one.
Right, CritterWatch.serverlesstoolbox.com versus kind of the one that's just like random letters and characters.
Yeah. Cool. So really useful for when you're building an API. There it is. Right. Cool. It has that hash in it.
Yep.
Very good. If you don't mind, I have a little something to check out. Maybe you could wrap this up, Brett?
Okay, perfect. Yep, sounds good. If you liked this video, or you have any questions about what we did or suggestions for new videos, please leave a comment. We love reading those. The idea for this episode actually was from a comment that folks left about Cloud Functions versus Cloud Run. So thanks for watching, but actually there's something happening in my trash can outside. I'm a little scared to go out there, so you know what? I'm going to use the CritterWatch cam and see what animal is rustling around in my trash can. Oh, yeah, okay. That makes sense. Enjoy, Martin.